Okay, if I'm going to require you to write and share, I'm going to do the same. When I first heard chrysanthemum, when chrysanthemum finds out that there's another person that's going to be named chrysanthemum, it reminded me of the first time I met my best friend. And so this story is called Meet Me Halfway. I will never forget the hot and humid day when I met my match. Insects and a few brave small children made the only movements. Searching for fun, I rode down the street on my purple bicycle with the glittery banana-style seat. Being the only girl my age that lived on the block, I usually played with the neighborhood boys. The only problem was that it was too hot for the boys on this July day. As I rode by the old Behringer house, I noticed the for sale sign was gone. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw her. There she stood, skinny as a beanstalk. A girl! I couldn't believe my eyes. She slowly pedaled her bare feet in my direction, and I, going equally as slow, turned my bike to meet her halfway. Little did we know that this would be the first of a million conversations during our lifetimes. "Hi," I said in an overly enthusiastic tone. "What's your name?" "Susan," she replied. "So is mine," I quickly answered. I then noticed the silver smile of her braces on her teeth. "Who's your orthodontist?" she questioned, obviously noticing our similarities. "Dr. Jacobs," I answered, hoping he was also hers. "So is mine," she answered with a smile. There our physical similarities ended. Susan stood tall for a seventh grader. She had hair the color of the afternoon sun and eyes as blue as the summer sky. I, in contrast, was short for my age. My hair shone as bright as the sunset, and my eyes were the greenish blue of the deep sea. The differences did not matter to us that day or any other day of our lives. In our eyes, we were the perfect match. From that day on, we were inseparable. Each day I followed the same routine. My fingers would excitedly dial the number, 932-5898. "Suze, this is Suze. What are you doing?" "I have to clean my room today. My mom is as mad as a hornet," she said. "I will help you. Meet me halfway." I would slam down the phone and quickly run out the door to meet my match. Sometimes the 50 yards seemed like miles. That summer, I baffled the neighborhood boys by my sudden change. I no longer wanted to play football at the Barrett boys' house, shoot their BB guns, or bait their hooks for fishing. All I wanted to do was meet my match. We shared an exclusive bond and understood pact that, like having the same name, we would always do everything together. Like the time we dared each other to eat an elephant ear plant. "Do you think it'll hurt us?" I seriously questioned. "I don't know," she answered very nonchalantly. "I'll do it if you will." "Okay, 1, 2, 3, go." To our surprise, we had eaten a poisonous plant. Our tongues swelled up like balloons. It was okay, though, because we were in the emergency room together. We also suffered restriction together. When we were a little older, we planned to sneak out and meet the neighborhood kids. As we had previously planned and practiced to do, I spent the night at her house, and we gingerly climbed out the bedroom window. Everything seemed to be going well, seeing that it was the night we both kissed a boy for the first time. Unfortunately, when we were trying to get back inside, every dog within a 50-mile radius began to bark uncontrollably. "Irv, wake up! The girls have been kidnapped," her mother cried. We paid the price for each and every one of our escapades because it was okay. We were together. The shock came when she told me she was moving. On a warm summer night, a year after our first meeting, she called. "Suze, this is Suze. Can you meet me halfway?" she said in a sad tone. After racing to her side, she told me she would be leaving soon. I never thought I would stop crying. "How can they do this to us? We're a match," I yelled. I don't think her parents will ever be forgiven for what they did to us, but we decided not to give up. We wrote, called, and visited for the next 2 years. Upon being reunited, we had changed as individuals, but the bond still remained. The big difference was that we would now learn relationships are not always a 50-50 split. Growing up fast, it was inevitable that one day one of us would have to go more than halfway. In the years that followed, separation occurred often. She chose to attend college at Florida State University, and I married and moved to San Diego, where I attended San Diego State. Although apart, we continued to write and call often, although our visits were few and far between. Nonetheless, distance would never weaken the bond between us. Her senior year, Susan called to tell me she would marry soon. Shortly after, I received another call. Suze, this is Suze, she said in an almost dazed tone. Carrie, he's gone. He was in a terrible accident. Could you? Don't say another word, I interrupted. I'll be on the next plane. At this point in our relationship, she needed me to go more than halfway as she endured the unexpected death of her fiancé. Later, she did the same for me when my husband was killed during Desert Shield. This special bond we share has made us so much difference in my life. I have learned what unconditional love is and how to trust and depend on someone, as well as how to give of myself. After the birth of her first child, I went out to visit my match in Seattle. At that point, we were both happily remarried, and she gave birth to a lovely young man named Scott, who is my godson. Still today, I can never stay away from them for too long. As we drove up the Olympia mountain range, I thought about the journey we'd traveled together. Like the narrow and winding road stretching to the top of the Olympia peak, our trip was scary but exhilarating at the same time. Sometimes it was easy, but other times difficult, like the areas on the mountains that have no guardrails. Luckily, we have each other to hold on to. When we got out of the car to hike, I decided to carry Scott in my baby backpack. We wanted to reach the highest point of the national park, which only could be reached by trails. Suze, I'll carry Scotty in the backpack, I said, wanting to have my godson as close to me as possible. Okay, she said, ready to continue our journey. I will carry him halfway.